protein. Why protein? Protein is one of the most necessary elements that have to be in your body for replication and healing to occur. The truth of the matter is, misunderstandings of protein has been costly for the wherewithal and health of many Americans. So protein is going to be an important seminar for you to understand. Make sure that you've got your sheets that go along with this seminar so that you can look at them and review them easily. You'll find that they are very valuable and purposeful in the detail that they go through, so you don't have to make notes all the time when you go through this seminar. But because it's on a disc, you're able to back up and review information until it gets clear. I have a tendency to speak relatively quickly, and unfortunately with that problem, you'll find that you might have to do so. One of the interesting things about protein is the European Union. If you think about where protein can come from, the European Union itself actually has the capacity to ban certain types of protein sources, most of the time dairy-based, if they find it to be unfit. What we know is the EU banned something called trade curd from entering the British market, and it was actually from the British themselves, and they actually blocked it from getting to their people. It was real interesting because the food inspectors, they had found that traces of antibiotics, dyes, and detergents were in the meat, the milk, as well as other products within it, not just the curd, but at levels that are allowed in the United States of America. Unfortunately, we have much lower standards as to the quality of the food that reaches your family and mine. And right now we're just going to talk about some general highlights, headlines that actually have been in the news, but for some reason not much was made of them, and often you didn't hear much of them. Mad cow disease. The Dutch have human mad cow disease case, but they consider their beef to be very, very safe. The Netherlands reported its first case of human cow disease on Thursday, but the Dutch said, hey, don't worry about our stuff, it's still safe. Still safe. The Interior Minister said that in a statement that the patient in the hospital in the central town of Utrecht had been diagnosed with human form of mad cow disease, but not to worry, that we don't have to worry about how it will affect the public because they've isolated it. And this was within a day, which means they couldn't know if they isolated it or not. In Idaho, United States of America, probes outbreak of human disease. Idaho confirms a third death from a rare brain disease related to cows. And Poland records 22 cases of mad cow disease. Sometimes we import that type of beef from overseas. So unfortunately, the USDA found that same year, 2005, 1,000 violations of mad cow disease. 1,000 violations. Now, if we have that many violations occurring, if it's poo-pooed when people literally die from this disease process, protein, the reason why I'm even covering this, protein from animal sources are starting to scare me. And I'm not telling you not to. You're going to see in the seminar that I recommend it in multiple cases. Safe sources that you can identify are comfortable and safe for you is very important. Purdue, they had a recall of 230,000 pounds of chicken strips because they were infected. Since the time that I put this together, there's been more and more information that has made us more and more concerned about the information that's coming out in these cases. Well, the truth of the matter is, if it would continue, these type of problems would continue, we would have to be concerned that possibly our wherewithal would not be saved or we would not be protected until years later. And that's not what we want to see in the United States of America, but unfortunately, it is the truth. And with that, we need to head on to protein. So morning protein drinks seem to sharpen mental skills. Something that's important, don't you think? So there was a positive. Protein drink in the morning instead of just having a sweetie and going to work with a little coffee might help handle some mental stress a little better, and you might think a little bit more clearly. Other headlines: eating fish regularly delays dementia. Delays dementia in the elderly. It's a big deal. Protein diet plus exercise equals more weight loss. Not such as the Atkins first 2 weeks diet, but increased protein. I am selectively talking to women in this case simply because for some reason you try hard on protein, but it seems common to have days sometimes without any solid protein sources, and that is not healthy. As we get into the seminar, I hope that you see clearly that it's not only a little deal, it is a really big deal for you to put protein in your body every day, at least the 9 essential proteins that make a big difference in your health. Eating eggs are okay for heart disease. In other words, the protein sources in eggs are really good. The white part, it's really healthy for you. And eating fish may cut the risk of heart problems. We've heard that for many years. Again, all in 2005. It's really interesting. So you might wonder, why is protein so doggone important? It's a necessity. There's 9 essential ones need to be there every day. And complete essential comparison to non-essential proteins, what are they and how do you put them together for your best health? Getting the right amount of protein is important. And remember, you are an individual. You are very unique. Designing what works for you is the only thing that's important in this issue. You will not line up with everyone else. It just doesn't happen that way. So let's get over that you're supposed to be part of the 80% of the rest of the society that fits in that. And the truth is, I question whether that 80% is more like 30%. I don't think we have a norm in protein that works for most people. Ethnicity makes a difference. The workload that you have makes a difference. Your general well-being and stress makes a difference. And then we're going to cover at-risk groups. First of all, why is this so important? Well, it's essential for growth and development. It provides energy for your body. You never thought about it, but protein is a key component to produce energy in your body. Without it, energy many times just doesn't exist. How many are you tired? How many are you fatigued? How many of you struggle getting up in the morning, facing the day, and just keep frying out earlier and earlier in the day, and you're just shattered, and the only thing that keeps you going is increasing your sugar and your caffeine and just shoving it through because you're mentally tough? Energy is a big deal. Building blocks are needed and are completed by proteins. They're needed for manufacturing hormones. Without them, your hormone levels many times will be off, and if you don't feel right during those cycles, possibly protein levels is a big issue. Carolyn Dean, MD, has done quite a bit of research in this area and actually counsels young ladies on this area that have irregular periods to get their protein levels up to normal with a few other elements, and we find that they seem to do a lot better. Isn't that nice? Why put them on a pill all of a sudden without trying to correct the cause in their own way? I mean, anyhow, I won't get into that one. Look at our hormone seminar. It'll blow you away. Let's put it that way. Antibiotics, the antibodies that are in your body that actually fight disease, bacteria, viruses, and things like this. Protein is necessary. Enzymes, everything that is catalyzed, in other words, produced energetic changes in your body, or promotes healing or promotes thought process, is protein driven. So all tissues, muscle, ligament, tendons, organs, glands, nails, hair, vital fluids, the matrix of your bone, osteoporosis is not just calcium. It hangs basically on protein strands. What we find is as people get older, they just decrease more and more protein to a point where they don't have enough to be able to maintain good, healthy bone structure. But many times that's overlooked, and that's an issue. Neurotransmitters. So why is it so important? Neurotransmitters, heck, they move information cell to cell. If you don't move the information cell to cell, your body can't communicate and becomes disorganized, disoriented, and many times is unhealthy. pH maintenance. Alkaline acid balance is very, very important. If you wonder why you look down and you've got this fluid on your ankles, both sides, but you don't have any heart disease, guess what? I find if I can get people to just super increase their protein for about 2 weeks, interesting enough, many times the fluid in their feet, and get them walking just a little bit to get the blood pumping, they seem to do better. That's important. And if you have too much of an acidic system, you're a soda drinker, you have lots of medications that you're taking, okay, unless you're a cancer patient, you have to talk to your oncologist. Increase your protein usually will improve those things. We know that alkalinity promotes healthy cells and acidity promotes disease. So we want that pH to get more alkaline, and being able to do so with protein is one way to do it. And if you have a low protein intake, more than likely, guess what? You're moving towards disease sensitivity, okay? Deficiencies of protein cause edema and inflammation. We've talked about that. And the makeup of every internal product within every cell structure of the DNA, that makeup is protein. Got to have it. The genetic code, generation to generation, is protein. And it needs to be there, or many times that code might actually get broken because we don't have it. And proteins aren't interchangeable. You can't replace an essential protein with another one for the body to use. It's not like many other types of substances in the body. Proteins must have the correct protein, the correct key to actually unlock an enzymatic activity in your body, or guess what? The body just stops. There's a wonderful book by Parthian. Parthian, she did a wonderful job of noting this, and she says it right there in bold letters. You can't replace the 9 essential proteins with another. You must have them. If you do not, everything that protein affects in the body stops functioning. They do not interchange. That's a big deal, isn't it? So having those 9 essential proteins every day are key. When we look at the essentials, you'll see them here: histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, tryptophan, valine. Wow, it's a lot of words. They're called amino acids. They're building blocks. They're proteins, bottom line. So complete essential proteins are found in a very specific list: meats. I tried to tell you that be able to get grass-fed types of meats if you're eating cow, okay? We know that fish is a whole protein. We know that poultry, whole protein. Eggs are a whole protein, as well as soybeans, cheese, and dairy products, okay? We know those are whole proteins. The ones that we love is yogurt, as long as it doesn't have a lot of sugars in them that are fillers. We love yogurt. We think that's one of the better things to put into your diet. So don't just eat complete essential proteins. The reason why is because we find if you look at a Mediterranean diet, it leads to incomplete proteins that mix together become complete proteins. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but here's the issue. When you're eating the essential proteins, meat, okay, if you eat them in a non-moderate amount, you're eating too much, you have high fat content that ends up becoming a real problem for cancer and heart disease and other types of conditions. Use of antibiotics and other chemicals, if you're buying products that are just conventionally grown, increases in your body and can create other health issues. So that's another issue. So raising poultry and cattle with chemicals and antibiotics actually crosses that barrier and gets to humans. And depending on your sensitivity, you might want to be more careful about those things, okay? Grass-fed and free-range animals you can eat more of these. Why? They're 1/3 less in fat if you have a grass-fed comparison to grain-fed, according to the Weston Price Foundation. They've done quite a bit of research on this over the last 40 years. I believe that they're probably accurate in their assessment. So you can have 1/3 less calories in fat if you have grass-fed, wholly grass-fed beef, okay? And free-range chickens, lower fat content there, okay? When we talk about cows, here's Bertha. Kind of a funny picture, I think. But what we know about grass-fed is this. They're 30 to 40% less in fat. They have carnitine. It helps build smooth muscle. That's the heart and the GI tract. For you constipated people or those people that have weak hearts, arteries and veins, or varicose veins, this might help at least improve the health of those cells. Has fewer calories per 6 ounces. Think about it. 92 calories less per 6 ounces. That's a lot of calories if you eat a lot of beef. And the omega-3s, which is the big issue. If you haven't seen our fat seminar, please do. It'll give you great insight. Omega-3 fatty acids are what helps anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory, anti-heart disease, etc., etc. In grass-fed, they're 2 to 10 times higher, okay? And that ratio in comparison to omega-3 is 1 to 1. Conjugated linoleic acid, and I've done some of an interesting article that's actually on our website at this point that talks about conjugated linoleic acid. And the reason why is the higher that seems to occur in your diet, the lower the fat content around your waist. Interesting enough. So conjugated linoleic acid is 2 to 5 times higher in those type animals that are grass-fed animals. Chickens and pigs, we have a problem. They have a single stomach. They don't have grass-fed, so they're not going to have this conjugated linoleic acid as high. But we know free-range chickens that raise eggs, and actually you eat those eggs, we do have more omega-3 fatty acids, and some of those oils are better. But the conjugated linoleic acid is only really elevated in beef that is grass-fed. So grass-fed is a big deal. We also notice in grass-fed is that there's higher levels of A, E, folic acid, beta-carotene, and luteins. Luteins, we know that that's really good for you. And when we look at those free-range chickens, even though they don't look like free-range chickens, you'd think they'd be a little bit more excited because they're out of the cage, but apparently they're not. is free range have less cholesterol. So an egg made from a free range chicken has less cholesterol. It has omega-3 fatty acids. Again, anti-heart, anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory. Mostly those with arthritis. This is one thing you might want to consider. It has 10 times the level of omega-3 acids. And guess what? Vitamin E, a natural vitamin E that is very good for the heart as a natural antioxidant is there. Vitamin A is higher, and essential fatty acids are a little bit higher. But interesting enough, they're only a 1-to-1 ratio. But in a store, when you get the white eggs that are in the store that are not marked that they're free range, they're actually from free range chickens, are 20-to-1 bad to good EFA ratio. So those eggs, in my estimation, might actually be the more unhealthy thing that you could do in comparison to free range chickens. Okay? So when we look at the non-essential proteins, we've got the list of them. We know that 80% are already made by the liver and 20% come from your diet. So the issue of going over that whole list is kind of a waste. But when we look at complete non-essentials, and that means that we can actually put usually 2 food groups together to get complete essential proteins. And the reason why is for those of you that don't eat a lot of meat and are not going to eat it 3 and 4 times a day, this is a great compromise, mostly if you're a vegetarian, and still combine those proteins together. And let me just make my little vegetarian speech. It's healthy. It's really good for you. But if you aren't really good about your protein sources, you will create other B complex as well as other nutrient source deficiencies that I would see you for in the office over time and know pretty much exactly what to go look for because it's common in vegetarian-based diets, okay? So here's our combination. If we take beans, remember to soak them 24 hours before you eat them, or otherwise it creates gas that shouldn't be there. Use Beano if you need to. These are really healthy. They need to be in your diet, so do what you need to get your health in order and have an option, okay? But you combine beans with brown rice or beans with corn, beans with nuts or seeds, beans with wheat, any of those combinations are healthy for you. If you combine brown rice with beans, brown rice with nuts or seeds, or brown rice with wheat, so whatever you do, these are complete essentials. We know that Mediterranean-based diets that are good in lowering cholesterol and triglycerides and lowering heart disease, as well as potentially some cancer and autoimmune issues, use a lot of this type of dietary manipulation, and it's a very healthy one for you. And it's interesting, we've almost avoided those things. Enriched white rice, I don't like. Enriched white anything, I don't like. If it's whole grain, eat it, okay? One missing essential protein stops cell healing, period. You got trillions of cells. So many factors cause deficiencies, okay? Poor diets and malnutrition. Bottom line is we eat a synthetic diet. We stop at all kinds of fast food places, and many times there's all kinds of interferences and other chemicals in those foods that interfere with it, or you just don't eat enough good food. We know that women that if don't have 2,500 calories a day, you don't even get the the RDAs, the recommended daily allowances, if you're not eating 2,500 calories. If you've not seen our seminar, Secrets to Vital Health, make sure you pick that up. That will straighten that out and really clarify some things that are an eye-opener for you. Remember, one protein not present stops the cell from healing, okay? Something could impair the absorption, such as anti-inflammatories. If you constantly take anti-inflammatories multiple times in a week, it can impair protein absorption because proteins are not easily absorbed. Body has to work kind of hard. If you have chronic infections, sinus infections, on antibiotics frequently, causes lots of gut flora kill-off. There's healthy bacteria that's actually in the gut itself that if you had frequent antibiotic use, sometimes never repairs itself, makes you susceptible to low-grade infections on a constant basis, interferes with your protein absorption. Trauma. Athlete that goes and goes and goes and goes, hour after hour after hour, and doesn't have enough time to repair, will have a problem. And chronic stress. And if you have not gotten our stress seminar, do, because it changes the way you look at your life when it comes to stress and identifying all the stressors that actually could affect your life, okay? Drug use, alcohol, and pharmaceutical grade drugs, or even illegal drugs, do change the absorption capacity of proteins. And we know as you get older, because you make less acid than you used to, from about 40 years old on up, you can actually end up with 50 to 75% less acid in your stomach, and if it's not there, you can't absorb proteins because you can't break them down. So as you get older, you might have to look at hydrochloric acid as well as proteins to start getting enough in your body to keep you strong. So too much is not good either. We know that if you have just the 2 weeks that Atkins puts you through of protein, ammonia can build up in the liver and cause liver dysfunction, okay, and actually hurt you. And it stops the conversion of ammonia to urea, and you can't get it out of your system. So that is a really big issue. Exposure to ammonia and cleaning products even makes the condition worse. If you are taking such thing as acetaminophen or those type medications or drinking quite a bit of alcohol, you affect the liver, and then you take in so much protein, you can swing your chemistry, cause a problem. That's why some people just had a major protein meal, then they've taken some acetaminophen for pain control, and then they drank a bunch of alcohol that night. The liver can't handle it. All of a sudden, they have some toxic side effect. That stuff actually does happen, folks, and it's produced by our own habits. When we look at urea, that can build up. So let's say the liver's doing okay and kicking out all this protein, just taking so much in, you know, hundreds of grams of protein per day. Urea can build up in the kidneys if you have some kidney issues, mostly if you take in a lot of anti-inflammatories. It affects the kidneys over long-term use, very unhealthy. General inflammation can occur. Back pain can actually occur from this. And strenuous exercise can cause a buildup, and if detoxification is inefficient, we can end up with problems, okay? So protein loss, you see this little chart here. I won't go over it in detail, but it just talks about some special groups: vegetarians, drug and alcoholic addiction, vegetarian and low protein intake, athletes, and patients that have been through surgery. Isoleucine will be a really important issue. Low protein diets and vegetarians again. And what we know is this. There's lots of issues associated with this, but proteins have this small group of foods that actually have lots of protein in it, and that is the problem. We're used to having something special and new. So when we look at proteins in summary, proteins are essential. You've got to have them. You just got to get over that you don't like everything that's out there. That's, you know, you have to have it, or otherwise your cell healing can stop. It's not interchangeable. You've got to supply the good protein. Yogurt, again, is a good example, unless you're lactose intolerant, okay? Eat complete non-essential as well as complete essential. Remember the reason why? Because complete essentials have a tendency to be animal-based and have high fat content, mostly saturated fats, and we want to eliminate and reduce those if at all possible. Free range whenever possible in that area. Don't want too little, don't want too much. It depends on the person. Some people get away with 10% protein. It's perfect. Some need 35% just to stay healthy. Depends on you. And if any of you, it's amazing how many people come in. I say, well, when did you feel really good? He says, oh, I went on that Atkins diet, and for about 2 weeks, I felt fabulous. I said, well, when did it start not feeling very good? When I started adding all those fruits and vegetables and all that kind of stuff. Well, the truth is, it wasn't the fruits and vegetables. It was that the protein content just needed to stay higher in a healthier form than they've done before. And protein powders many times help in this area, or protein pills, to be able to suffice and change your quality of your health. You just might be one of those unique people that need high protein. I am one of those people. If I don't have it, I feel awful. I get run down, tired, fatigued. I don't heal as well. I'll get cuts that don't heal as quickly, and I always know it's protein, okay? Eat a good balance of all types of proteins, and you've done the best you can. The ideal amount is 30%. However, it can range from 10 to 35 to 40% depending on the person and what you're doing. Swelling related to protein imbalance when it is generally distributed in the extremity. Remember, if it gets into the legs, and that's the only thing, you don't, heart's been fine, blood sugar's fine, everything else fine, remember protein could be an issue. So proteins, men and women, this is an important issue. However, I want to say, ladies, you have the problem, it seems, more commonly dietarily in this area of protein. And what we know is you add protein when you're eating some bad carbs or some bad fats. Protein's a great balancer to many times decrease the absorption of that bad stuff and keep your health and well-being better. We hope this helps, encourages. I hope you share this with other family and friends and people that you care about. Send people to secondopinion.org. There's no charge for those things. It'll start helping them kind of get a moderate look at how to approach things to empower themselves, to give them a chance at a better health and a better life. I want to thank you for tuning in. We'll look for you next time. And may God bless you.